I'm gonna have to make the call. Stay in bounds so you pivot, boy, get your going for. A lot of niggas be fast, you really can't fast. We done got it out the mud, nigga, what you talking about? Screaming on my dad, money got me crying. They live in this lie, look into my eyes, they might see surprise. I'm side, these multiply, even on the rise. If we got some wings, fuck it, we gon' have to fly. Money, 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 what you talking about? Day in my life, take me a different route. Years on my pain, niggas on my face. You can get erased, what you talking about? Money, 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 what you talking about? We don't really know what you been talking about. You don't really want to play, you don't know what to say. Money, 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 what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you guys been talking about. And I don't want to be the one who always been talking about. And you don't really want to play, you don't know what to say. Money, 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 what I'm talking about. You never crossing these waters. I'm whipping it up, ordering feet. I swear that I'm cooking these orders. Talk about me, you better talk, and you can just really afford it. I'm balling, I'm winning, I'm feeling like Robert the Horry. Nigga, I'm scoring. I count in the morning. They talk about me, then I gotta ignore it. My bitches be foreign. So independent, my money be corporate. These raps is boring. You hate me, and I'm always gonna adore it. Smoking that Sora. She always go ahead, let me explore it. I call it my Dora. You know too about me, I ain't flawless. I go for my artist. If a nigga talk about me, then I'm on it. You know that I'm gone it. Jumping, take trips, prime day, all day, always keep 3 stacks like Andre. I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it, man. Get it, man. Then you can never get rid of that. Watch what you say, so watch how you do. If you play the game, then you play by the rules. Money, 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 what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you been talking about. You don't really want to play, you don't know what to say. Money, 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 what I'm talking about. We don't really know what you always been talking about. And I don't want to be the one who always been talking about. And you don't really want to play, you don't know what to say. Money, 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 what I'm talking about.
And we're back live. CP3 coming to you live from the lab. Sports on the Hill podcast on TruRadio Network. XFL, excuse me, XFL NFL Talk coming to you with Dujane Bland, Sports Journey, writer and insider, along with the host of The Breakdown, who does a great job breaking down the XFL week by week. So before I bring him on, I'm going to give my quick little synopsis of what I saw, and then we're going to dig deeper into what he saw from this DC Defenders team, because he was giving me some key knowledge offline yesterday that I had no idea of, that I thought I knew this team a little bit better than I did, but that's why we have him on, because he has that great knowledge and insight that sometimes I just don't have. I know a lot, but I don't know everything, so that's why we have the experts that we have. But from what I saw yesterday, last week when they lost to another winless team, I chalked it up to maybe the trade that the wide receiver went there, gave some keys to the offense, because the offense didn't look in sync at all. Defense really couldn't get itself together. The quarterback, Josh Johnson, played a great game. So I was like, okay, we're going to see what they do up against another winless team, and they mess around and get shut out, which is never a good thing, even though they were on the road. If you're watching the live feed now, you see some of the stats that they put up. 107 total yards, total of 9 first downs, and gave up 6 first downs, and gave up 29 first downs to the other team. The run defense was atrocious. The pass defense, they They didn't really pass that much, but when they did, the stuff was wide open. They were blitzing. They weren't getting home. They were missing tackles. With the running game, I don't know what was going on because it's like as soon as the running back got the ball, no, even if they did hit him at the line of scrimmage, he wasn't going down for about 4 or 5 yards after that. And even when they did corral him, he still pushed the pile for another 3, 4 yards. I saw no fight, no will, no want. I don't know what happened from the team that we saw weeks 1 and 2 to the team we saw the last 3 and 4. I don't know if it's the home field advantage or now they have tape on the team and they know the weaknesses. Also, Cardale Jones, I don't know what's going on with him. I mentioned in the first game, he started out a little slow. He got better. Second game, he started out fast, leveled off. Last week was just a bad game. I chalked it up as that, but to follow it up with another horrible game, I don't know what to say. But I'm not the expert. I'm not the guy that follows him as closely as I should probably. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a guy that can probably give us more insight and knowledge into what's going on with this team. Dujane, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just scratching my head trying to figure out what's going on with this DC Defenders team because I was actually standing up for them and, talking trash about how good their team was a couple of weeks ago. And now I'm scratching my head and don't know what's going on. So you were telling me some interesting things yesterday when we were talking offline. So can we get some insight into this team and their record against the bottom 4 teams of this league is 2-2 and lost to 2 winless teams back to back?
I had some opportunity to kind of sit back and kind of take a look at the first 2 weeks and take a look at the second 2 weeks, especially some of the tapes, some of the highlights, and some of the things that they're doing. And, I chalk it up to the first 2 weeks. We all know wasn't a lot of tape out there. They had a more ready-made offense. Guys like Ross, who's a former Redskin, been on the after practice show there in Pentagon City. So we've spoken to him several times. He's got a chip on his shoulder and felt that he wasn't, he could have been used, in my opinion, he could have been used a lot more earlier on. But they had a more polished group of guys. Now the defenses and guys are, there's tape out here over the last couple of weeks, and now defensive coordinators are starting to scheme things up to take certain things away and force guys to do things that they're not comfortable with doing. And it's very clear, but two things stand out to me, and it's in the trenches for this team. And like I told you yesterday, the big thing with the defenders was defensively. I mean, you got guys like Tracy Sprinkle, you got Tavarius Barnes, Qualls, Bromley, those guys up front there. It's just the inconsistency. If you watch the game, and I've said it on my previous podcast in week 3, that I felt like this was a trap game for the defenders because the Vipers were on the come up and they were punching guys in the mouth. I mean, they only lost by a touchdown to the league leaders, the undefeated Roughnecks. So this was going to be a game that I felt like the defenders were going to lose, but they were losing it, the battle in the trenches. They're getting pushed around big time. And you're a defensive guy. I'm sure you saw it. What gap do you want to run through, especially in the middle? They're getting no push. Vipers were winning the line of scrimmage just like they were in LA. The Wildcats were doing the exact same thing. And when you know what happens, when your front seven isn't doing anything and the offense is dictating what's going on the field, it exposes corners who aren't consistent on the back end. And now they're being asked to do some things that they're really not that good at yet. And that's why you're seeing the big plays down the field. You're seeing them give up the amount of points that they're giving up. And offensively, predictable yesterday. I mean, I don't think anybody would say that was an unpredictable offense. And granted, I understand they were down early, but we know XFL rules. It can change in an instant. Maybe all you need is a touchdown, one of those 3-point conversions, and another score, and you're right back in this thing. So, it really doesn't have anything to do with that. They got to do a better job of getting Cardale Jones Their defense kept them in the game, and they lost by a small margin. But you look at the 3 turnovers in the first quarter, and you're like, if you don't turn it over, and you don't give them stop them point, then you don't lose this game possibly. So the defenders have to find themselves. Like, there was no, I think I tweeted out that it's the most uninspired bunch of football that I've seen from a team in the past few weeks, especially yesterday. And, whether it's coaching, it's everybody. I'm not pointing it at Pep or Cardell Jones. It's everybody. You got to dig deep. You got to find a way to pull yourself out of the conundrum, because even though they lost yesterday, they're still in the thick of it. And although they didn't make my top 4 teams in this league this week, they're still very much in it to challenge for playoff and championship if they can right the ship. But when you look at who they have to face next week, the Battle Hawks, that looks like another L the way this team is playing. But they have to find a way to play ahead like they have been, getting scores, putting pressure, and kind of dictating things a little more than what they have been, because they've been getting dictated too the past few weeks. Opposing team offense and defense just had their way with the defenders on both sides of the ball, and they have to get back to punching people in the mouth, and they can't make the careless mistakes, and they got to find a way to tackle. I mean, you would have thought you were watching the Redskins from like 2 and 3 years ago, as bad as the tackling was on the defense. I mean, how does a guy run a play completely reverse field, and there's bodies there, and he slips right through those bodies, gets the first down, when you need a critical stop and more. That's just uninspired, undisciplined football. And I called the New York Guardians that the previous week. Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. It was something going on with that defense yesterday, and I was going to say something. They're not built to play from behind. I'm not sure if it's Pep, because he's calling the plays. He's, like you say, he's consistent, and he does things, and he has tendencies. So some of the plays were seeming redundant, and hopefully he won't go to Jay Gruden route and try to, cater the team to his playbook, and he'll start playing to the strengths. The plays that were open, like you say, in the first 2 weeks, they have tape on. Ross was averaging over 90 yards a game in the first 2 games. I don't think he's got over 30 yards in either one of the last 2 games. Playing from behind, this team cannot do it. I don't know what it is, but the running game is like hit or miss. Last week against LA, they put up over 200 yards rushing. This week, they only put up 46. So, I mean, they got 7 carries apiece. The numbers weren't bad, but they were playing from behind. They did give up points. But then that goes back to the defense. I think that the first 2 weeks, they were getting bailed out by turnovers, because they did get a lot of turnovers. They had a pick 6 in both games. So they were dictating the pace. And I believe one game they did come back from behind, but that was because of turnovers. So I don't know. I think this is going to be a gut check, like you mentioned.
Turnover yesterday.
Exactly, and it was at the wrong time. And
do nothing with it.
Yeah, and Jones, that one that he threw, I'm still wondering what he saw in that play when you had a man going down the seam in one-on-one coverage against the safety, but then you throw to the wide receiver that's bracketed at the sideline with your man basically has no chance to make that play. I don't know if he's pressing it, if he's frustrated from the last 2 weeks, but I didn't follow him in college, so I know his record 13-0 as a starter until the last 2 weeks or whatever. But I don't know. He got to get it together. The backup quarterback, I like him because he's more mobile, and you see a lot of the RPOs in the XFL, and I think if they can start doing that, that'll open up the passing game, open the running game more with the RPO package, because they're not really. Jones isn't really a threat. He can run, but he's not going to bust the game open. So I think if they bring him in, I'm not saying bench Jones, but the last 2 weeks, like I said, those 4 turnovers in 2 weeks, that's not a good look for your team.
No, it's not. And see, you made some points there, and I'm not even blaming Pep. He's not the offensive coordinator here, although it looks like he calls the plays majority.
Yeah.
There's no creativity. Like, I mean, there are several times they had a, I believe it was like a 4th and 3, and Cardell Jones had the ball moving. They had this really nice pass play call, and you call an obvious run up the gut where you had blocked well to run the ball, and he was stuck for a loss. Where do you come up with that? How do you go from doing things that develop a rhythm and you do something to stifle the offense? That bothers me. And then I thought, I'm not for pulling guys, but in this instance, as bad as Jones had played yesterday, it was time to put Jackson in. And he on that drive when he used 2 quarterbacks, the offense moved. When they put Jones back in, what happened? They ended up punting later. It completely solved the offense. And I'm not saying Jackson would have done better, but it was time. He needed to sit and think about what he had done. You know, it's kind of like putting a child in timeout, thinking about what you did.
No doubt.
You need to think about what he had done over the past 2 weeks. And then you can address him after the game. You ain't got time to be dealing with that right now. But in the game was pretty much, I wouldn't say it's out of hand, but you were down 20 points. So you had nothing to gain by leaving him out there. They could at least give Jackson a shot. But he didn't have much protection. The protection was sporadic up front. And I understand, we can all understand when you get behind like that, the defense pretty much has an idea of what you're doing. But this isn't the NFL either. This is the XFL. And, where are these double passes that you could be taking advantage of? You've got the speed, Vinny Cobbs, you've got DeAndre Tompkins, you've got these guys, okay? And you're not utilizing the guys that you have. And I think some of it has to do with creativity. But, again, like we said, you can't turn the football over. And this defense plays well when they have a lead. When they have to, sustain and hold something and try to kill momentum, unless it's going to be a turnover, they ain't going to do that physically by completely shutting you down. They're either going to take the ball away from you or you're going to get some kind of point because you're going to march it right down the field. And then they need the red zone to be like that 12th guy, so to speak. But whatever it is, they got to right the ship. And I'm not going to put it on any one coach or any one player. They all got to go and look themselves in the mirror and reevaluate themselves and figure out what they need to do to become a more cohesive and a unit that can play better than like they were playing in the beginning of the season. And at least be able to play the ball that's going to at least give them an opportunity to win. And Seattle's going to be a tough team to have to face here after they could be facing a three-game losing streak and probably are more likely to lose this game coming up as well. Especially if this is what we're going to get from the defenders that we've seen over the last 2 weeks.
No doubt, no doubt. We're working on, since it's going to be a home game, we're going to try to get those credentials one more time to see if we can get to one of these games and give you some live footage that you won't get anywhere else. Well, you'll get it elsewhere, but you're going to get it from Sports and Hill Podcast. I see we got DC People's Champ still on the line. I'm going to get his take on the defenders real quick before we move on to the XFL and talk about the NFL Combine. Let's see. Computer acting a little funny. There we go. DC People's Champ. You still on the line there, bruh?
I'm still here, brother.
What's going on? So I've seen you've been checking out the DC Defenders also. I've got DJ already getting his insight and his take on what he saw. Let's go ahead and get you a quick breakdown of what you've seen from this team the last 2 weeks.
Well, one of my homies said it when I posted it up on Facebook that basically the team got exposed last week in LA. They got exposed, and basically going to the point that you guys made, now there's tape on them. Now teams know what to expect from this team on both sides of the ball. So the thing of the matter is now Pat has to, the coach has to know to make adjustments. He's got to show he's a competent head coach to adjust his offense, adjust his defense, and be able to work those in to be able to keep teams guessing. because if you don't make adjustments and these teams know what you're going to do offensively and defensively going forward, you're going to have more games like you had against LA, and especially that game yesterday against Tampa Bay. I think I watched like the first half of it, and then I just like, all right, I'm out. I went outside to smoke and have a drink and listen to the Wizards game because I just couldn't watch anymore. And then I look again, and I come back inside, and they still hadn't scored, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch the rest of this game. It's they got to adjust. Both offensively and defensively, they got to make adjustments. They got to put little wrinkles in somewhere and keep teams guessing. Otherwise, they're going to become a predictable team, and they're not going to make a good run going forward, and they're going to be looking outside the playoffs in the first season instead of being a part of it.
Couldn't agree with you more there, bro. Couldn't agree with you more there. Appreciate that insight. Go ahead and give a quick plug to the No Spots podcast on coming up and what you're covering this weekend before we go forward.
Oh, yeah. Like I mentioned at the end of the Wizards Roundtable this Friday, we got a very, very packed show because we're going to be talking about AEW Revolution, that first pay-per-view of the decade that took place last Saturday. We're going to be talking about Elimination Chamber, which is coming up this Sunday. We're going to be talking about everything that happened in wrestling this week, including Ring of Honor crowning a new world champion, which was a history-making victory. And we're going to be talking about AEW's newest acquisition, a very popular indie star is now All Elite. All that this Friday, 10 p.m. on No Spots.
All right, bro. Appreciate it. I'm going to put you back in the listeners' lounge. We're going to break down the rest of week 4 in the XFL before we start talking some NFL. So, Dujane, let's see what else was going on around the XFL in week 4 today. I mean, this weekend.
Man, what can you say about the Houston Renegades, right? I mean, they're undefeated. They have, I'd say, Houston Roughnecks and the Seattle Battlehawks, the two best offenses in this league. PJ Walker, I mean, what can the dude not do? He puts pressure on people's defenses. And I thought Dallas did an excellent job, despite the loss. If they had a little help from Landry Jones, who I think is better than what he's shown, especially this past week, might have seen Dallas able to upset them because I think Dallas has so much potential and really could possibly be right there. And it could have been one of those undefeated teams right before meeting the Roughnecks if they had Landry Jones in the beginning of the first game, had a little knee issue and had to sit out that first game. But the Roughnecks are a tough team, man. They play well, play sound on both sides of the ball. I like what they do creatively. They really test your linebacker. They really test your secondary big time. And PJ he puts the ball right where it needs to be. Only where his guys can get it, his guys make plays. So I really love what they're doing over there. And I like the Seattle Battlehawks. Definitely another team that I felt like from the jump, even though they lost a few and they lost the game there, I thought they were really sound in just how they play. They're a physical football team. They punch you in the mouth. They hit you with the running game. They have a really good and I felt like a quarterback who is improving week to week, but really has all the tools to get the job done. And they play solid on defense. They don't wow you. You know what I mean? They're not the Renegades. They don't wow you with a lot of things, but they make plays and they score points and they make sure that they're try to be on the winning side at the end of the day. So I really like those two teams in this league. I tell you, I said it last week when I saw the Vipers come close against the Renegades. I really thought that they're a team that probably it looked like they were one of the worst teams in this league. And really, when you look at their roster and you look at the talent and what they've displayed week after week, they need their quarterback play to step up. And they finally got that. Cornelius is playing well. I thought they did an excellent job. I'm not really a huge fan of using two quarterbacks. The old John Madden saying, you have two, you don't have one. And I know this is different. It's the XFL and all of that. But I thought out of all the teams, if you're going to use a two quarterback system, I
think should have been brought back, at least to Washington, to give a shot. I'm not saying that he should start anything. I'm just saying should have given an opportunity to be on the roster after all he had been through and how he played despite all of that. Thought he played well against the defender. He did a decent job. Last week they did lose, but they let that team hang around a little bit too long and lost by field goal. But I think the Vipers, man, are a team that could be the sleeper in this one. It could sneak their way in if they can string together some wins here. All you need is a win or two, and then you are right there in the race. For the playoffs, there are a lot of 2-2 teams in this league. So, the defenders have to get a win to keep pace. They definitely don't want to slide because of teams like the Vipers. You got the Wildcats that are, starting to get their legs a little bit. They're starting to get a little bit of an identity. And if they can find a little bit of a role here, they could make some noise and punch their way in to this postseason. So those are two teams that I like there. And I'll give you guys go listen to the podcast, but I'll give it to you anyway. My top four teams in this league. It starts with the Renegades. We all know why they're number one. Not just the undefeated record, but they're very polished. I went with the Battlehawks at number two. I love the way that they're playing as well. And number three is Dallas Renegades. I know they lost last week, but they're still one of the better teams in this league despite their record, and despite them losing to. I mean, you can't knock them. They lost to one of the best teams in the league here. And if it wasn't for the turnovers, I would be quick to say that they probably would win that game. And my fourth team that I put in there is actually the New York Guardians. Thought they looked dysfunctional 2 weeks ago when McGloin make those statements about his teammates and about the team and some of the turmoil behind closed doors. He caught some heat for that, and then here they are. They go back home. They're 2-0 at home, and they get a win. And they look like a more normal football team in this game. So if they can start to pick up where we thought they were when they started in week one, they very well could be that fourth team that takes the reins, doesn't look back, and try to make a push to get themselves into that championship game.
Sounds good. Sounds good. That's a great breakdown. Like I said, I haven't been watching as closely as you, but sounds like you've been checking out all these teams and keeping a tab on them. I'm going to try to stay more closely watching on them, but being I'm at work on Saturday, I can only stream one game at a time, so I can only do what I can do, but I'm glad to have you all here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a great league. If you haven't checked it out, I encourage people to check it out. The alternative, the rule changes with the kickoffs, from kickoffs to the extra point. It's the sideline reporting is great. I was kind of wondering how that was going to go. I don't mind the expletives. I saw your tweet or your post on Facebook about them catching folks. It's funny because they've done it several times this week too. A lot of F-bombs going live. Keep it on that. That's funny, but I think you get to see another side. And I have a friend and a former producer of my old show who is watching the XFL. He watched the first one. He's not a football fan, and we're sitting here breaking down football, and he knows very little about football. So he's learning a lot because he's listening. You're able to hear the plays. These guys are really good. The commentators have been really good about explaining plays, explaining different verbiage inside the play that they're calling. So we're getting a lot of nuances. And I expect the NFL to pick up some of at least the rules. I don't expect them to expose too much of anything. But Troy Aikman gave some really good info as far as having the microphone for the players to be able to hear, the coaches being able to talk to them. I think that's another element that's pretty cool and something that the NFL might adapt later on. But if you haven't checked out the league, you really should. And especially in the DC area. I know they're losing now, but they have huge potential. And this league is something everybody loves football, and it's going to be something fun that hopefully it'll stay around. I believe it will, and it'll give us a fix and kind of bridge that gap there when there's no football.
Definitely agree. I love the product. Love the rule changes. Some of the things that they do different, especially kickoff. that might be something the NFL might incorporate in it. Who knows? Because they always talked about doing away with the kickoff, but then that would cost kickers jobs and special teams players and limit the roster. So I think that's a good compromise or alternative to the kickoff situation. We haven't had any concussion issues in the XFL with their kickoff. Actually had a kickoff return for a touchdown. I know it was on a backwards pass or a double pass or a pass it on lateral or something. But hey, you still got the scoring. So I hope they do that. And they're a little bit more liberal and not as stuffy as the NFL. Like you said, you got the sideline reporters getting candid with the players. A couple of F-bombs get dropped here and there. But, it's a good product, good football. And, some of these players, like we talked about, they only, 10% of the NCAA players make the pros. So, it's good to have another pro league for these guys to go out there and be able to do what they, do what they do and do what they love that they've done for their whole life and still continue their career.
Yep, exactly.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the other side of it. We talked some NFL. The scouting combine was just this past weekend. We had I saw a couple of 300-pound defensive linemen with a 40 time with a 4.86 or 4. I'm like, hold up, how you 300 pounds and still running that fast? I'm like, these defensive linemen and defensive players are getting ridiculous. And that goes into my Trent Williams stuff with him taking a year off. But we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the scouting combine and some pre-draft analysis for the Redskins. So I know you're not a big combine guy, but did anything stand out to you or anybody stand out to you in this combine that made their stock rise and somebody that Skins should possibly be looking at?
I'll tell you, I'll premise it with this. The combine is good. I like to see the measurables of guys. 4 years are fun to watch, but for the offensive lineman, for instance, those side-to-side drills where they're kind of simulating moving from side to side and doing their kick slide and not, so you can see how a guy moves in open space. Those things are fine, but some of those drills, really are not practical. You're not going to ever see a guy do that. It really doesn't give you a good gauge on whether he can do it or not. That's why I say these games like the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine game, all those what we want to say knockoff or all-star type games, that's where you can see these guys, and especially if you're not a college football watcher. You can see these guys, and so you'll find that some of these guys that I'm going to tell you today are some guys that I've already seen and had an opportunity to talk to at the Senior Bowl. My three biggest needs, I feel like, for the Redskins right now, if you're looking towards the draft, outside of the obvious guy that they should take with the number 2 pick, I think it's his corner, his tight end, and his offensive tackle. I really liked A.J. Terrell out of Clemson. I thought he really improved himself there. Obviously, I know when you hear that name and you say Clemson, I know he didn't have a good game against LSU, but it's LSU, and there were a ton of pros on that offense. And the quarterback is allegedly, supposed to be a pro. And we think it's going to be a good quarterback in Joe Burrow. So, anybody would have had a harder time, but I thought he did a good job of improving himself there. And could be a guy that the Redskins could look at to help, shore up and add another dynamic player on that secondary. Also like Just Gadley. He's like 5'10" though, and only 191 pounds. He's from I think it's TCU, and he's a guy who improved. He's not, I think it was like 4'4", 4'5", something like that, 40. But he's just a sound player, a scrapper, and a guy that I think that would fit in. And could he be, on the outside? I don't know. I think that's up to coaches to figure out. With this 4-3 and whatever they decide to do with the scheme, it will be simple enough for the secondary, whoever it is, to be able to take advantage of their skills there. Now, Thaddeus didn't do a whole lot, but at tight end, number 1 on my list is Thaddeus Moss, and I've been talking about
in has to learn how to block, and they're usually solid blockers. And I think, especially with the tight end group, there's nobody in the tight end group that's going to stand out that's a definite top tier pick. So, there's no of these Noah Fants or anything like that in this draft. But he's definitely a guy that the Redskins can pick up later. It's going to be a quality player for them. And again, with the running game, what the Redskins like to do, what we think Ron Rivera will probably more than likely do in this offense, running and having a tight end that can block, whether it's in the pass or run, is important. I think that can do that. I also like Hunter Bryant as well. I thought he came out here and showed some things as he was in the Senior Bowl. He also, or was he in the Senior Bowl? All these things run together. But he definitely plays well. Had an opportunity to look at some tape on him. Really like what he does, and he's another guy that they get. It's not an early round second pick or anything like that they could probably get third rounder or maybe even later. As far as offensive tackles go, I really like Ben March. He's out of St. John's, the Minnesota team. He's in the Senior Bowl as well, but not only just that though, he really showed a real ability with quick feet, really good stance, and his ability to keep a nice level so he's not overtaken by a pass rusher or bowled over. Has agile feet, very quick with some of the drills there. So I really like him also. And my last guy, offensive tackle, I think is a sleeper. He probably could move up the board. Is Prince Tag Watson? Yes, Taga Watson. He is out of Auburn. I've been watching this guy since his college days here in Auburn. As you know, where I live, a lot of SEC football. So definitely got to see him a lot. He did have some issues I believe in college. I think he was suspended or something like that. But a good guy. Guy is a heck of a player. And we know, regardless of what they do with Trent or whatever, the tackles that they have on this team haven't really shown an ability to reach the level that most think they should be at by now. And I think those two guys are some people that they can really take a look at and get some depth, some quality depth in that department, and maybe even potentially develop. And those guys could definitely start and would start over anybody that the Redskins have back up that tackle easily. So I really like those guys as well. But again, combine is cool and it's fun, and there are some things you can take away from it. But I just wish there were some things that were practical, that were applicable to the field, and give you a good gauge. But you know what? It's mainly for these guys to be able to get interviews, from more teams, especially if you were not a Senior Bowl attendee. And these players and these teams to get to know each other. So outside of the drill, that's really the important part, is developing relationships, getting to know them, getting that 15-minute interview and getting to know a guy and what he's about. Because, I mean, we all know, you know, Harold, tape don't lie. So, you can do some things here or there, but, these guys got enough tape on them, to know whether they're going to be able to fit. And it really is what it's all about. It's about a fit, so we'll see. But Combine was fun. I think there's a lot of these positions in the Combine, a lot of these positions in the draft this year. And especially at the corner position, I think there's a lot of, whether you're talking anywhere on the offensive line, I think there's a lot of talent on the offensive line as well, where teams are going to be able to,
we've seen that over and over again with this team, the Redskins. But I just want to get into this latest clickbait that's going around with the number 2 pick. I don't know if you've been privy to it, if you've even paid attention. You probably don't even pay attention to it because you know it's some BS. But saying that Coach Rivera was talking about the guy, the quarterback Tua, talking about they were thinking about drafting him. Yeah, I wouldn't even going to try, bro. I wasn't even going to try. But talking about that he was thinking about bringing him in to compete with Haskins for the starting quarterback job. And I knew just by reading it that it wasn't true. But folks have been passing around, especially some of the DC sports media, and come to find out, which I knew because one of the affiliates with the network has insiders and know these things, Rivera wasn't even at that meeting. So all of you guys that's out here spreading all of this fake news and this clickbait, y'all need to relax. And all I got to say is, with the number 2 pick, you know I'm not a college guy, dude, Janae. You know I'm not. But listening to what people say about this Chase Young dude, I started out looking at highlights. And I was like, okay, everybody's highlight tape look good. I'm going to go look at some games. I was actually watching college games, dude, Janae, of this kid. And if the Redskins don't draft him, I'm going to need bail money because I'm going down to Ashburn and smack the shit out of everybody, including Rivera, for passing on this kid. I don't see any downside in taking this kid number 2. You've watched more college tape, way more than me. Do you think this kid is I think I see it. Do you see the same thing that I see and think this kid is a game changer that could make this defense something to be feared for the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. I really wasn't worried about him until we knew exactly where Washington's pick was going to be once these wins and losses panned out. And when they were up there at number 2, and you see the team ahead of them is in dire need of a quarterback, and that doesn't mean that they could just simply decide to change their mind and do that too. But I think it's pretty obvious, and I had an opportunity to kind of get a feel for Zach Taylor at the Senior Bowl when he was asked questions about the quarterback position and where they might go as far as draft. And not saying he's giving anything away, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's slightly obvious that, okay, if it's not Burrow, then you're taking some quarterback, okay? And Chase Young is that dude. I've watched a lot of games, a lot of Ohio State games. Ron Rivera had his Julius Peppers before, and I think that would be the smart thing to do. Now, I know there are people out there like, you can get draft capital. And look, this guy is generational talent. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you are going to trade out of that pick, it better be a Saints Ricky Williams trade, and you better be giving up not just your whole entire draft this year, but I need 2 number 1s on top of that too. All right. Only outside of that, if you're not giving up your whole draft, I'll take 3 1s. And Miami's got 3 1s this year.
Wow.
I'm not saying that they're going to move up to do that. That's the guy. That's the player in this thing. And the biggest player, and you mark it down, is Tua's workout, pro day workout. Everything checks out and all the boxes checked. And see, I'm gonna get towards your opening conversation here in a second, but everything checked, all the boxes check out. Tua Mania. Now you've got a competition that's the number 1 spot for a quarterback, or you're at least in the top 4 to 5 spots. You got a competition for someone to come up and get a quarterback. Because I think I'm not saying Jordan Love's going in the top half of this draft, but he's definitely proved that and I believe that he is this year's Gardner Minshew. I've said it time and time again, tweeted it out, said it, I'll continue to say it. I love that kid. I'm not saying he's top 5 talent. I'm just saying the work he's done. You look at what he did at the combine. I think he's moving up this ladder. And we saw guys like Mitchell Trubisky, who I thought had no business being drafted where he was drafted. People
number 2 pick more valuable by doing that. You meet with everybody. You have the number 2 pick in this draft. What if Cincinnati goes in and there's some major trade and someone jumps up and leapfrogs up to number 1 and decides that they want a guy and they don't even pick a quarterback? And it changes. Now Burrow's on the board, Tua's on the board, there's a whole bunch of people on the board. Now you've just created a big frenzy for this number 2 pick. And then other people might decide to move up. But if you haven't done your due diligence and you don't even know anything about these players, then you go in blind and guess what? You look like a complete dumbass. Unprepared, and then you make some dumb decisions. The Bears, and you go up and you pick a Mitchell Trubisky. So, or you're not prepared to take a major deal because you haven't investigated, you haven't done your due diligence in the pre-draft process to get a good gauge on these guys and get a good feel and know them and understand who you have. Because everybody's in play. I don't care what people think. Everyone's in play when you got the number 2 pick. And go back and check the Redskins record. So they're not above from getting or picking anyone. We can all have a person we think they should pick, but it takes one team ahead of you to do something unexpected that you didn't plan for, and your butt cheeks are caught in the wind. Your pants down because you didn't do your job and you didn't do the investigative work that you should have been doing. So of course, Tua is going to be in meetings. I don't care who's there. I don't care if Ronald's there or not. But that's what they should be doing because they have the number 2 pick in this draft. The record was garbage last year. You've been trash for 20 years.
Exactly.
So you don't not check on anyone with that number 2 pick. You got to do your due diligence.
Exactly.
You got to make that pick valuable just in case some jabroni decides that they not only want to give you on number 1 pick, they want to give you 3 or 4 or 3 number 1s and a 2 and a player. I don't know. There's people that done crazy stuff. Redskins being one of them to get their player. There's nothing out of the realm of possibility. And you have to pick up and turn over every stone to find out information and have everything at your disposal when it's time for the draft and the Redskins on the clock. And people are calling and saying, hey, is that number 2 available? What you got?
No doubt.
Gotta do it.
No doubt. Well, as always, we appreciate you taking the time out. Excuse me, got about 10 minutes at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and let you give your closing shout-outs and plug the podcast and let folks know what you're working on this upcoming week with so much going on in football.
Man, check out the podcast. It's always posted. It's hard to find. It's always posted on the SportsOTHP page, on mine. The breakdown with DJ Bland. It's going to be talking about Gator Nationals as I'll be going there in a few weeks. Drag racing season is starting to get into the groove. Got the XFL. We'll be talking about that. And we'll be working, if you didn't see it earlier, did a Saints draft need, working on Tampa Bay draft needs, doing some NFC South. And we'll be pulling out some stuff, looking at players, looking at different positions, especially positions of need here for Washington. And I'll start throwing out different players that I see that could be potential guys that they could pick in this draft. So, yeah, it's fun season, but there's been some added things, added media stuff that we're doing, and a lot of stuff we're doing as a company. So, doing our best to try to keep up. But, yeah, it's been quite busy, but it's been fun, though. A lot of good information, keep people busy and they're getting it so they can get their sport fix in a time where if you're an NFL person or if you're just strictly football where it's kind of dry. But free agency coming up, man, it's going to be fun. I'm about to get lit here in a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't wait.
Check me out, NotBlame21 on Twitter.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a good time for the Redskins especially. Can't wait to see what goes on. I'm still working on my training camp stuff. And when I training camp, I plan to be down in Richmond with Diane and trying to get on some of them pressers that she says she might be able to slide me in on. So, yeah, I'll be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for Dujane and all this good stuff he working on. His NHRA coverage. It's NCAA coverage, and now it's XFL and NFL coverage, man. Appreciate you taking the time out, bro, and I'll holler at you later on, man.
All right, brother. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem, man. All right, we got about 6 minutes left in the hour. Got to get out of here. Got some things to do. Just warm up some grub. But appreciate y'all checking us out. Checking out the live feed on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook. Make sure you go check out the website, SportsOTHP.com, for all the shows archived, all the blogs, all the links that we got on there. Go check out the apparel line for the District of Champions gear we got. Go help contribute to the Sports on the Hill podcast so we can keep this thing moving. Working on getting some advertising, some sponsors, some other things going on. So be on the lookout because, yeah, we're going to be around and we're going to handle this business. We got the anniversary of Sports on the Hill coming up at the end of the month. It's year 4 going into season 5. So y'all know what it is. You know what it do. We about to get out of here. CP3 live from the lab. I'm about to go ahead and end this live feed now because I don't even feel like playing another song tonight. I'm about to just get out of here. But appreciate y'all checking us out, streaming it live. We'll be back next Monday, 7 o'clock as always. Call in and listen or comment on the TruRadio hotline.